Hello, one and all, and welcome back to League of Europe Season 7. This is the 11th round of the Division 2 Championship, and it is coming to you from the Netherlands. Zandvoort Circuit it is for round 11, and we're going to be getting things underway once again tonight for the Division 2 action out on track. To take you through the action here tonight, it is myself, Daka, as always, and alongside me in the commentary box, as always as well, it is Mr. QVR Verstappen. Verstappen, mate, how are you doing tonight?
Hello everyone, and indeed welcome to the Netherlands for League of Europe Division 2. I'm doing quite well. Looking forward to this very technical track, very challenging as well, so we'll have to see if the drivers can maybe try to keep that on the track.
Yeah, certainly. It is a very technical circuit, no doubt, very narrow. Overtaking opportunities are very hard to come by, so we could see a bit of a stagnant race, or we could see the typical Division 2 chaos, where the results are thrown completely up in the air and being nearly impossible to predict. We'll see how things are going to work out. In the Championship right now, well, still very hard to say what is exactly going on, because right now there haven't really been a lot of points coming from most of the title contenders. Carmentelis, though, still leads the way on 112 and is still very comfortably clear of Kjorti Timon, who is 37 points behind. So Carmentelis has a good lead, and then remarkably close, Gary on 71, Timon's on 75, Nathan JBE is on 71, Funky Chicken is in on 69 points, Larkin on 64, Kriko on 63, Zerba on 61. That's that battle from second down to 8, and that has just been the case where those results have been thrown up in the air. That championship order has been created by just madness and no one putting together a consistent season. It still continues into round 11.
Yeah, it's just up to this point that Carmentelis has built such a lead of just getting good, decent results, that he's now got a 37-point gap, as you said. And the other drivers, like for example, we have Timon in P2, who's only scored in 5 out of 10 races, which is quite remarkable to say, and it says enough about the division so far.
Yep, absolute madness, I think, has been the word for this season. We'll see if this race is somewhat different. We are, of course, progressing through the season quite nicely. Only 7 rounds left to go, including this one, so once this race is done, you could say we're into the last third of the season or so. So it is getting to that sharp end, and we'll see how the drivers are going to approach proceedings here. Zandvoort is a very, very different race to what we've seen, because it is a purpose-built track. It is open as such, but typically you're not going to see a lot of moves here, and well, it being fairly easy to follow. In a dry race, of course, we'll see if we do get moisture. It can happen here. But in the dry, those DRS trades could build up and make the race, well, a bit of a long, hard slog for the drivers, because you said this to me before we went on air. You cannot let your guard drop. You cannot let your focus slip for one moment around this track.
Yeah, seeing that's almost as technical as the likes of Monaco, for example. Just constant corners, constantly coming at you throughout the lap. But also, in Monaco you have a bit of relief. You have maybe the security that if you do make a mistake, you don't necessarily drop back that far. Well, if you do it here, you're immediately 3-4 places gone. So that is definitely something that drivers have to look at and keep their concentration up and just get through this race.
Yeah, certainly. So we'll see as they now begin to load into qualifying. Definitely important here, because we've mentioned the lack of overtaking opportunities around this track. Also, as a decent alternate strategy, the standard strategy here, it is the fairly standard soft and medium, but probably tougher than a lot of other tracks. So we'll see how that is going to go. But with the way things can, be bunched up during the race, it can make strategies very interesting with things like the undercut. We are still going. Jaco was taking an awful long time to get loaded in, so I hope everything is okay on that end, because we are being held up just a little bit. So yeah, 36 laps is the distance, and now eventually Jaco has had to dip out of the session, so hopefully he can get himself back in. Bit of a technical issue there. bright and sunny skies for qualifying again. Hopefully we can get Jake Olin 18 minutes in front of us for what is probably one of the more important qualifying sessions you'll see this season.
Most definitely, most definitely. It'll be very close throughout the session as well. As the lap times are quite short, and yeah, you'll be looking around the 109 possibly. I think the pole position will be around the mid to high 109s definitely. So we see the first cars coming out of pits now.
Yes, certainly. Of course, this is like we see quite often throughout the calendar and with the grid this competitive. It's a very specialised circuit. I'm going to say the two buzzwords for tonight because we're not going to avoid it. Pad and ABS around this circuit as now they head themselves out onto the track. A lot of drivers having the mediums fitted on these opening runs. We'll see how we can make of that because, like I said, it can rain here. Not the most likely. So we'll see now as they go around. But yeah, certainly a lot of medium runners out there early, probably looking to build into this session because this is a track. It's very short, so in qualifying you could just do laps and laps on end.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. It's yes, I previously mentioned a very short track, and usually there's a lot of time for a lot of runs, and that is why you see people going out the mediums, maybe get a bit of a grip of the track as well. And just get a bit in the groove. Just looking around, who is the first one out? I think that it might be TTG Slash. He's on the mediums and he's about to start his lap.
Yeah, TTG Slash then in the Williams gearing up for a hot lap. Has it been an amazing season, barring just one victory at the Portuguese Grand Prix in round 3? Gearing up to turn 1, Tazard corner, late on the brakes and use that banking, turn it in. You can see him using very, very high gears heading through the apex, then trying to keep stability now into turn 3. Again, huge banking here, a lot of different lanes you can run through, then power out onto the exit, then watch that throttle pedal. Now you head up a various set of kinks as you head uphill to the end of the first sector, heading into turn 7 now, swoop it in, just a little bit of understeer on the medium tyres for Slash, getting himself set up in a turn 8, again a bit more understeer. You're not quite going to get the grip you really want from these medium tyres, then sliding it through turn number 9, onto the brakes just slightly into T10, tough traction zone, then manage that throttle pedal. Now you're back on it. Short DRS sprint up towards turns 11 and 12. Use as much of the curb as you can on the first part. Try and avoid it though in the second part. Again, another difficult traction zone. And then the second half of this lap. Gearing up now, turn 13. Easy to run wide and invalidate as Slash just does there. So that's going to bring his lap to a close. Will he cross the line? He will go over the line anyway. So he does a 1:10.4 on those mediums. Not a terrible lap. We'll see what happens when the rest of the times come in. So Slash sets a time, Peter, that's not going to be representative, I think, in the Aston. Timon goes fastest then, 1:10.2, and after a bad run of form, looking like he would have been in the title fight, Timon certainly is going to be looking almost desperate, I imagine, to get himself right back up there with potentially a victory or at least a good haul of points. But Mr. BT, who we've seen his pace so often in qualifying this season, he's off to a good start in the session, 1:10.2 on mediums, good lap.
Yeah, very quick lap. Does Cream going quickest, just 700 under time assigned. And that is a very solid lap to start off with. Yeah, Mr. BT's time is very quick at the moment. Ben JS going into 5th, not a bad lap for him. Nathan JB into 5th, takes that over. And just everyone is coming around to put the laps in. I think Slash is going for another lap. It might be Matt Tibbles who's actually just crossed the line.
Yeah, Matt Tebas, of course, winner in Spa last time out. Zenema crosses the line, goes 7th on mediums, then 1:11 flat. Expect the times to be somewhat close around this track because it is very short. No doubt about that. So we'll see what these guys can all muster up. Hardy is quick to the first sector. Keep an eye on him. He's gone round though at turn 7. Tries to gather it back up. He will. I think he just hit the wall with his rear wing. Manages to get it back together. Spinning again. So not the optimal recovery. That's Scream at the moment. Topping the time sheets. 1:10.1 is the time at the moment. So we'll see if anyone else is going to set a decent lap. Matt Tebos has gone round again. Larkin is setting up towards the line, so most of the drivers have managed to get solid enough first runs in Excel. Larkin crosses the line, goes 7th, decent enough lap, 1:10.5 on the mediums. Behind it's an AlphaTauri of Emily Creco goes 3rd, 1:10.2 is the time. So We'll see some of these last guys going over the line. Matt Tibbles, I think, is just going to try and get something on the board in the Williams 110.4. So that's Scream topping the first runs, but I think the big story, Mr. BT 110.2, to be just a tenth and a half off pole on medium tyres. That's an ominous sign, and Mr. BT will feel very, very confident. Jacob's retired. I don't think he could have went out, though, thanks to the glitch. So Jacob will have to start from the rear, but Mr. BT in the Aston Martin, certainly as he fits the softs in the pit lane, will be looking to stamp an authority once he gets those red stripe tyres going, trying to get a big lap down.
Yeah, we'll see him definitely improve, and it's a very, very strong time on the mediums. I think we'll be seeing probably around a 9.5, 9.6 if he keeps that pace up, because the softs are about 6, 7 tenths quicker in reality. As the game says, I think it's a bit more, but the overheating doesn't help here. The overheating is definitely a thing around here that the drivers have to be wary of, especially for the middle sector with consecutive right-handers there, all the way from turn 6, turn 7, all the way down towards turn number 9, and then the 10 doesn't help the right-hand side of the tyres either way.
Yeah, so that high load that consistently throughout the lap can certainly derail some attempts on those softs, so keep an eye out on that. Mr. BT though is out on the track. BenGS has just followed him, 110.8, P10 at the moment. Talking about strategy, it's not the lowest egg track but not the highest. Should be a soft medium standard strategy. Again, decent alternate strategy around this circuit. Sort of the norm really on this game really. That standard alternate strategy should be pretty lethal. But of course, overtaking is difficult, so you've got to try and walk that line. Now, maybe a bit of a fight for poor man's pole position. Probably not a big one, but you certainly don't want to be caught in P10 either. Mr. BT, though, in the Aston Martin, starts a lap. So the Aston Martin barreling his way through. We'll keep half an eye on that. So we're getting up towards the second run. Should be really 4 runs these guys are going to be doing. There is yellows out there. I think that's just the car getting nicely out of the way. That's BenGS jumping out of the way near the end of the lap. So Mr. BT heading uphill now towards the end of the first sector, then 24.2. Good start to the lap. Of course, we also saw a good one from Hardy earlier on who matched that. He didn't get his lap finished. He's just gone out on the track now. Mr. BT sweeping through the middle of the hot lap. Of course, we saw that very impressive run on the mediums to get things all kicked off then for the Aston Martin. Looking to try and fight that car. Heading through the middle portion of the lap. 48.7 is just under 2 tenths up. I don't think his best middle sector, but we'll see as he heads down. Sully was the next fastest, by the way, on the mediums. He did a 110.4, low 110.4. He's also out there. Mr. BT invalidates through the final corner. We saw Slash do it, and we see that again. And really, that hammers home. That corner, it can be deceptive, and the invalidations can creep up on you when you're least expecting them.
Yeah, around this track, there's a couple of plays where you can validate, and especially the penultimate corner, as we've seen a couple of times now, is definitely a place where that happens a lot. And the exit of turn 1 is another one. If you have a bit of oversteer, that could happen. We'll have to look out for that. The drivers will definitely have to do that as well. Looking around, who is on the lap? I think Bumpy is just coming around the final couple corners through the Ariel Luijendijk bocht, and now opens up the DRS. Across the line he'll go. Looks like a decent lap. 110.3 goes up to P6.
Yeah, just 100th of a second shy of the time from XL Gary, who's up in the first sector. A few times definitely gonna start creeping up as we get right into the thick of the final, of the middle phase, if you like, of the qualifying session. So we'll see what these drivers have up their sleeve. There is a Williams coming up to the line. That was Matt Tibbles getting a lap time kicked off. CRL Nathan JB is slightly up on his time, coming to the line, goes fastest 110 flat, getting up towards that 109 barrier, which will surely see broken in the closing stages of the session. Behind it's a Red Bull, it's XL Gary, even to the first 2 sectors, just squeaks out a little bit of time in the last sector, goes 5th, just jumping Mr. BT. Let's look further down the order then. XL Hardy is heading up. No, sorry, that's not XL Hardy. There's a TDG Slash coming through. Goes fastest. 109.8 in the Williams. So Slash putting the marker down. Solid improvement. We saw the potential in the first runs, and he now puts it all together. 109.8, the first driver under the 70-second barrier. We'll see how the other guys are going to be able to stack up to that. That Scream has just got a lap kicked off. Timon is heading out of the middle sector now, and Larkin coming up to the line goes second, just scrapes under the 70-second barrier. 109.9, it's a good lap from Larkin. He's looking pacey around here, but Slash goes fastest then, just about a tenth and a half clear at the front of the order. Good start for him in the session, but a lot more to come in these last 8 minutes.
Definitely a lot more to come. Incrementalist and Funky Chicken went to 13th and 14th respectively, but I think we got Timon heading up to the line, and they'll be going very quick up at the P3 now, just behind his teammate, 13 thousandths to be exact. And that is a very good time. We'll be looking to improve. I think he's got some pace left in that Alfa Romeo. Sedmet on the lap, he is almost 5 tenths up, coming round turn number 12. Difficult traction zone there, but Sedmet does that quite nicely. Now down towards turn 13 and open up the throttle. Take a tight line as you can. DRS will be open and across the line. Excel Sedmet will go 101, 10.2 into P6.
Yeah, just barely in front of Emily Krigo. Decent enough lap from Excel Zerma at this stage in the session. So there looks to be most of these second runs pretty much in the books. Most guys now returning to that pit lane. Mr. BT and Peter, the two Aston Martins. Two guys you'd really expect to put it all together in qualifying. They are all out there on the track looking to get geared up. I think Peter is going to be the first one to start. I'll hand it over to you, Verstappen, for a lap. The Aston Martin over the line. Peter, without a super quick time, comes through. The Aston Martin gets it all kicked off now.
Braking at 50 meters for turn number 1, the Tarzan corner. And now open up the throttle down towards turn 2 and turn 3. Where in real life we see the drivers go very high as Peter does get a lot of oversteer. But in the game it looks to be quicker to go the tighter line as you can. Now through the sweeping corners for turn 4, 5 and 6. All easily flat. And now down towards first sector split. Almost a tenth up. And now for 6th gear. Just down to 6th gear once again as he just about gets a bit of oversteer through turn number 8 and spins around the Aston Martin though, so he'll have to go again.
Yeah, we saw a couple of improvements there. Nathan JB goes second. That Scream in third at the moment. Slash just slightly in front then. 300ths of a second to the good at the head of the field at the moment. So, we're now heading right through the session. Mr. BT is on a great lap though. He's 4.5 tenths up at this stage, sweeping it through towards the back end of the lap then. Turn number 13, opens it up nearly on the grass, tries to measure his effort nicely within the track limits. And the Aston Martin now coming up to the line, currently 9th. We saw the medium lap earlier, the soft lap is a 109.6, big lap from Mr. BT. Goes fastest comprehensively with nearly a 2 tenth of a second margin. And I think that's the first really serious time we've seen laid down. And I think that is going to be a daunting time for even the fastest in this division to go up against. Mr. BT, a huge lap, goes fastest, 109.677.
Yeah, we have one of the Ferraris on a lap, I think. One of the Haas as well. Ben JS just almost 3 tenths up. And this looks like a very solid lap for the Haas driver. 4th gear out of turn 12 and now down towards turn 13. Get the car flicked in and have it go under the throttle. No moment of oversteer there for Ben JS. Looking like a very solid time. DRS is open and across the line. Ben JS goes into P7, 110.063. Just in behind, I saw Bumpy coming through as well, but he is backed off. He's gone in, and well, he was 2.5 tenths up, so he made a mistake through the final sector that we didn't see. But he does have some pace in that Ferrari, definitely.
The other Ferrari as well with pace in the first sector. He is on a 24.2. Currently down in 13th at the moment, but clearly with potential, heading it in to turn 9 now. Again, you're managing that throttle pedal all the way through, try and get up through the gears as quickly as you can. Now at turn number 10, short shifting into 4th, you can see prioritising that traction. Up on the way out, let's see the middle sector time. It's fairly quick. He's 3 tenths of a second up. Again, using that curve quite heavily through turn 11. Tried set up turn 12. A few different lines you can run all about that exit though. Now, turn 13, slightly on the curve. Manages to take a really nice slide. Very clean, no oversteer. Now, to the final bank turn. Now to the line. A little bit of grass he takes, but he decides to go to the pit lane. Now, that looked decent enough. He made a bit of a mistake through the chicane, but it would have been a better lap, and you'd think now a guy that's clearly showed potential. He's putting it all on that final run. He knows he needs to improve.
Yeah, it must be just banking on a final run, banking on maybe having a slightly better tyres, but it is a quite risky strategy to see as the first drivers are coming out for the final runs, and Exo Hardy will be the next one to start a lap. Open up the DRS down towards turn 1.
Yeah, we'll see what he could do then. No time on the board for XL Hardy. On to the brakes, as you said, at 50 metres. Third gear, short shifts to fourth. Now managing that throttle pedal through onto the exit. Kink of turn 2 is just a little dab of brakes on the entry. A little bit squirrely for Hardy. But he holds it together, running out on the exit then. Hard on the throttle now. Kinks of turns 4, 5 and 6 heading up towards the big turn at 7 then. First sector, is it as quick as we saw earlier? Still decent, 24.4, bit of understeer though. Through turn 7, keeps it within track bounds. Now to turn 8, flicks it in quite nicely then. Little catching the curb on the way through the apex then. And the car looks a little bit nervous, but he holds it together through turn 9. Opening up turn 10 now, trying to get towards that curb. Doesn't quite manage it, prioritising then that exit, that pudge of the hairpin there, and now heading through into this last sector. Very heavy on that curb, of course. Tries to keep it tight, run it out, dead back on the throttle. Hard as you head up towards the final real significant corner on the track, just a little way to the apex. Keeps it within track limits. Zerba has crashed out the session, by the way, out of turn 3, so he will start no higher than 9th. Hardy to the line, comes through, goes 9th. 110.1. Now we're going to see the last of these lap times really come in at the back end of this session, so let's see what these guys have got. Emily Creco has done a huge middle sector, but a little bit held up through the chicane. There's cars, of course, backing up towards the start of their hot laps, and not the easiest to manoeuvre your way through there, but Creco now has managed to get through just fine. There's a Red Bull ahead up the road. Creco heading up towards the line, crosses, goes third. Good lap, 109.8, but I think he would have wanted more in that last sector. Who have we got next up to step up to the plate? Aston Martin over the line. Peter knows he needs a big lap now, crosses the line, starts his final runs. That Scream as well, way behind as we get into the last minute of regular time within this qualifying session. And again, we are just waiting for those runs to start coming in, because Timon is backed off a lap, so is his teammate Larkin. It hasn't gone the best for most of those guys, so a lot of guys are merely just gearing themselves up. Matt Tebos is on a good enough lap, 2/10 up, nicely hooked up throughout that penultimate corner, and now he is flat out all the way to the line as the Williams man. Currently NP13 crosses the line, goes 9th. 110.129 is the time. Let's see what else is gonna be in order. Larkin is just geared up towards doing another lap. Mr. BT has pulled off the side of the track, so he's not going to be improving late in the day, so that can open up the door. But Nathan JB is not particularly fast to the first two sectors, crosses the line, remains in 4th position. Now we'll see some of these times coming in. Bumpier goes 12th, Funky Chicken crosses the line, goes 9th. 110.1 is the time. Now watch all these last times coming in. It's an Aston Martin, it's Peter, but doesn't find the time at the end of the session. Behind it's a Red Bull. Gary pulls to the pit lane, so does Creco behind him then. That Scream is just slightly down on his time. They're not finding the time out there on the track at the moment. Is it Sully then? And the Ferrari crosses the line, goes 2nd. 109.7, sneaks onto the front row right at the death. Do we have anything else in order? Benji S goes 9th. Larkin is just a 10.5 up throughout that middle sector, so he could be looking at getting himself right up there. Good last sector, might get him on the front row at least, so let's see what he can do. It's nice and clean through the exit of the last corner. XL Larkin, not qualifying specialist, has found pace tonight though, goes across the line, goes 2nd and sneaks it onto the front row. So in the end it is Mr. BT who steals the show in qualifying, and they all stacked up to the end. A few drivers not getting those last runs in quite as clean as they want, but it is one of the consistently fastest one-lap drivers in the division that snatches pole in front of Larkin.
Yeah, absolutely rapid time from Mr. BT. 109.6, as I predicted earlier on. Be around that. Larkin just under 10th behind the second. Then on the second row, we have Sully, last week's podium finisher, and Slash in 4th. Then Creco and Nathan JB in 5th and 6th. The Scream and Simon in 7th and 8th. And then Ben JS and Funky Chicken rounding off the top 10. Behind that, we have Matt Tibbles, Gary, Hardy, Bumpia, Zaidema, Carmentalist, Peter, and Jaco running off the grid. And they'll be looking to get a free tyre choice for the race and make positions later on.
Yeah, certainly expect, of course, the majority of those guys to be going long into the Grand Prix. So we'll see how that is going to unfold. Now we look to get in. Hopefully everyone is going to get into the race just fine. Of course, we didn't see that with qualifying. Jaco lagging out is going to have to do it all in the race itself. So we'll see how he is going to manage with that. And as we get into it again, bright and sunny skies for the full Grand Prix event. So let's look to get into it then as we begin to load ourselves towards it. Now the start is important, but it's very difficult down there. And what I think is very dangerous about this start, you look at those critical corners near the start of the race, turn 1, turn 3, turn 7. There's a lot of pinch points on the apexes of those corners, so those guys are going to have to watch out. I think they're all going to have to be wary here, because certainly that start, everything can bunch up and things could get a little bit mad down there if the drivers don't give each other respect. So hopefully they can keep it clean down there. But yeah, the track doesn't lend itself to side-by-side like that, so they're all going to have to watch out for each other.
Yeah, definitely for turn 2 and 3 is a critical point where we have to watch out if these drivers can navigate their way through cleanly, which is quite difficult, has to be said. Outside of them, we're looking at all mediums, and they'll be looking to go into the softs later in the race. Expect the pit stops to be around lap 23-24 without any sort of safety cars, but it is Division 2, so you never know about that one. Looking for the soft-medium strategy as well. There's quite a variation of pit laps what you can do. You can go quite early if you do want to sacrifice the first bit of track position and go into the mediums early. Around lap 6, 7 even we could see pit stops happening, but they could also go quite long and go into lap 11, 12, so we'll have to see how these drivers go and manage their way about that.
Yeah, there is some flexibility there that's going to make it interesting, especially if the race is going to be turned into a DRS train where you can easily jump, get a jump on each other throughout that pit stop phase. Also, a very short pit lane around this circuit. I think by time loss it is the shortest on the calendar. So that could certainly swing things in terms of strategy. It also means it's more likely that the leaders could get held up by potential medium starters. So we'll see how that's going to go, as Matt Tibbles and Zaidema, who were several places apart on the grid, have somehow both managed to get themselves disqualified. So I'm not exactly sure what has happened there. But yeah, Matt Tibbles will have a slight tyre disadvantage. Don't think it's going to be anything catastrophic. He is the leading medium runner on that poor man's pole position. Will look to try and gain himself, or at least stay with the soft train in front, as now they come to the grid. Mr. BT and Lark in the front row. Coming to you, Verstappen, before we start. Who's your tip to take the checkered flag after 36 laps of racing?
I think Mr. BT will take this one from pole. I'm going to say Slash in second and Larkin in third.
Let's see, you think the guys at the front are going to stay at the front for the most part. We'll see how that is going to go. Mr. BT on that pole position, as now we build up towards the start of the Dutch Grand Prix. We have 5 lights. And we're off the grid in the Netherlands from the line. It's Mr. BT. He's got a good lead. He's jumped ahead of Larkin. Sully to the outside. Tries to challenge the Alfa Romeo then, as they all fell to the way through Tarzan corner for the first time. 3 wide at the rear of the field. Looks like it's all clean for now as we headed up towards turn 2. Everyone being wary of each other. Mr. BT leads in contact. Slash ran into the back of Sully. Don't think there's any major contact down there. Funky Chicken has gone round though. And you can see these guys all beginning to spread out or stack up then further back. Jaco and Carmentalist are side by side up towards turn 7. That could get very sketchy. On the inside it's Jaco, and they're almost running into Bumpy. Jaco forces Carmentalist nearly off the road, and Holzel Zaidema having a look. Kriko and Slash going at it further up the order then. Kriko just gets in front. Did Slash get damage, I wonder, when he ran into him at turn 3? They're 3 wide out of turn 10. Surely Slash has damage. That scream gets through. On the inside is Nathan, JB, and they're all stacking the way up, so they get past Slash. slashes off the road into the gravel, and just one mistake setting him back early as it can all get so bunched up into that part of the track. So he goes around now, tries to gather himself, pulls off the road. Mr. BT has that race lead, and a break has appeared. Slash has broken this up somewhat, so now Creco has been detached from the top three in front already.
Meanwhile, Hardy and Peter are both into the pits, possibly with damage. Not too sure if they do, but yeah, Gary looks to be the one who is still sticking with the second train as of right now. And the rest is just about detached. Jacob's about 9/10 away. He'll be catching up quite soon again. There's a variation in a lot of drivers actually pitting. Matt Tibble, Slash, Hardy, Peter, and Funky Chicken, who we saw round at turn 3. All in the pits, and they'll have to go and come from far.
5 drivers to the pit lane in, and a bit of a variation in strategy. Hardy, Hards, that will be looking to go to the end. Peter, Soft, definitely will be looking for a pit stop. Matt Tibos, Funky Chicken, and Slash, mediums, probably won't go the distance, but we'll see how they can evolve that strategy. Certainly a decent race tyre to be on. We'll see how those tyre choices shape up throughout the remainder of this race. Mr. BT leads. Larkin and Sully have gone with him. Then that gap has opened up. Mainly thanks to Slash, and a few other incidents further down the field has spaced this out somewhat, but the top 3 have got a critical break. Gary, as you mentioned, managed to get up towards that soft train. He's slipping away now. Jaco has managed to work his way back to him with Carmengelis, Bumpy and Zanoa. They are the medium runners that are still really in contention in this early stage of the race. So Gary's going to need a big lap here. Don't get DRS until that straight between turn 10 and turn 11. It's not a powerful DRS zone either. We'll see if Gary can hang on in there, but he is slipping back. We'll have a look at that, but guess the main story. That gap between the top 3 and the rest. Creco doesn't look to quite have the outright pace of the top 3. Mr. BT, the pole setter, dragging them along. If Larkin and Sully can stay with it, well, those 3 look to be creating... Oh, is Mr. BT a bit of a slide there? Gets it back together. But with the pace these 3 have got, it's going to be a very long day in the office for the rest of the field.
It does look like these 3 are just a bit clear at the moment at the front of the field, and the AlphaTauris are controlling the train just in behind, with quite a lot of ERS still on to spare, has to be said. So maybe they're saving something from later on, but it doesn't look good. Too much, too far, too soon as of right now. And I have to look in behind. Timon is looking close to the back of NJS for P7 at the moment. He'll be looking for a better position very soon, I reckon. And he'll be looking for a move. The Scream is going for a move on his teammate and gets up into P4.
Yeah, fairly standard swap there between the two AlphaTauris, and that Scream will now look to drag them all along. Then Slash has gone off near the back of the grid, and it's been a very difficult night for him so far. Manages to gather up, no major damage done at this stage, but Slash a long way off at the rear of the field. Of course, we've seen those 5 cars already come in. The rest of them are fairly in contact. BenGS is now looking at Nathan JB, so it swings and roundabouts really. There has been, is that a crash further down the order? Matt Tibos has gone into the wall out of that final corner at the banking. Now, it is possible to lose traction there, but Matt Tibos brings it in. Doesn't look like there's going to be anything brought out then, but that is a danger. You'd think that corner, you know, would be fairly fine and dandy, but I remember seeing it in the D1 race, there were a few spins out there. That's a corner that you wouldn't expect, but it can catch you out. So the top 3 continue to stretch away. 3 seconds is the gap. I know there was a separation thanks to Slash, but the pace difference between the top 3 and the rest is phenomenal, and that gap is extending at a ferocious rate.
Yeah, Mr. BT looks to have some really good pace, and these 2 are just being dragged along by it, and has to be said, they have good pace themselves as well, otherwise they wouldn't be this close behind. And it'll be interesting to see if they can maybe challenge the Aston Martin later on in the race.
Yeah, for now though, they look to just sit in contention at the moment, and Sully has the most battery out of the lot. The other 2 are around 50-60%. Sully around 70 at this stage. No major discrepancies. Timon is trying to get a run up towards BenGS, but of course, heading into turn number 7, not really possible to come from distance there. You barely hit the brakes. So Timon looking eager though to get through. Nathan JB looks to be something of a cork in the bottle. BenGS is sitting very comfortably behind him, and Timon as well is swarming all over BenGS. So Nathan, he's fast enough to keep up, but maybe he's under a bit more pressure than he'd want. And I know overtaking is difficult there, but when you have a lot of battery you can use it, and if you get adventurous with your deployment, that's really the only way of getting through here.
It definitely is. There's almost no overtaking opportunities, except for if someone ahead makes a mistake, or you want to do it down into turn 1 and you have enough straight line speed and you have a good exit out of turn 13. But it has to be perfect, basically, and that is not looking like it is for anyone at the moment. Jaco looks to be fairly close to Gary, who's quite low in the ERS at the moment. He'll have to push to stay with the soft drivers ahead, and what have you seen?
Jaco has gone round, heading through turn number 1, and a gap has completely emerged because Carmentos had to avoid. So Boompje has managed to get in front. Now he has to work his way back at BenGS is attacking Nathan JB. Jaco just got on the curb, heading through Tarzan corner. I was just going to say, he looked like the quickest out of the medium terrain, no longer, and now he is a long way detached from the front runners in this race. Gutting for XL Jaco, who drops to P13 on the road. Boompje has done a good effort. Really strong run from the Ferrari to work his way back in. Gary is doing all he can to stay with it, but the pace really isn't that strong from the AlphaTauris at the front of the group. So really, there's no real stress on anyone to keep up at this stage. They can all just sort of work their way in as the top 3 control the race. Doesn't look like there's any interest in any of them to actually go for it, and it says a lot about their pace. Mr. BT is still extending, and look at the battery he has. Look at the battery that Scream has as well. So at the moment, everyone is conserving, and there seems to be virtually no aggression throughout the field. Everyone's playing the long game here.
Yeah, that definitely looks like it is the case, and just following us in a DRS train at the moment for the majority of the grid. No real interesting things at the moment. I think we could see some pit stops very soon from the soft runners. We'll have to see when they decide to go, and are they going to calculate in some traffic with someone like Jaco, who's now probably right in the line of pit stops for the top 3. I'll have to see if they try and extend and overcut him.
Yes, certainly at this stage their pace is very strong. BenGS to the inside of turn 10, but a wheel-to-wheel contact with the McLaren. They emerge at the hairpin side by side, level as they head towards the chicane. On the inside, it's Nathan JB tries to cover off the line, but BenGS is round the outside, has established position into turn 12. Can he get the move done? Back comes Nathan JB, almost side by side. There's contact between them on the way to 13, and somehow they're still wheel-to-wheel. Nathan JB with the nose in front manages to preserve that spot. Then is further back. Carmentless, the championship leader, is round. So Carmentless, and straightaway timing dives to the pit lane. BenGS looking inside then into turn number 1, forces his way through. That's aggressive, but he does get through on Nathan JB for the time being. We'll see if there is going to be a steward's inquiry on that one. BenGS on Nathan JB, and a rare mistake from Carmentless. He's now dropped behind Jaco, so those two guys that look like the main aggressors in the medium train, now they've made mistakes, and it's two drivers you wouldn't expect it, so Carmentless with work to do. Jaco now in front. Timon re-emerges from the pit lane, trying to grab that undercut, so we'll see what the reaction's going to be. Expect a furious run of pit stops then. A lot of those soft train, I imagine, are going to be into the pits very soon.
I imagine so. I was looking at the pit stops time, and it looked like he was getting help. I don't know for sure. As Peter is round as well through turn 3 there. He's just trying to re-emerge here. It's quite difficult to do when the banking is so tight there. Yeah, I don't know if Timon is going to be able to gain some position of this, because it did look like he was getting held slightly. We'll have to see if that was just visual or that was actually getting held. I reckon one of these guys will get into the pits, and BenGS and Nathan JB both looking like they are gonna follow in Timon and close off that undercut attempt by Timon.
Or at least attempt to. We'll see if that's going to work out in the end then, as they both put in, I imagine, for a fresh... Actually, for BenGS, it's going to be a set of hard tyres. Which is very interesting, because I'd imagine those mediums can go to the end fairly comfortably. Here comes Timon, though, around the outside. And of course, the guy that he's trying to chase in the championship has gone around and he's made that undercut work. He jumps in front of BenGS, who emerges from Nathan JB, who's slipped back in the pit lane. BenGS is going to really struggle, I imagine, on this outlap, trying to get those tyres up to temperature. And I don't mean to be rude here, but this is the latest in a list of very bizarre strategic calls from BenGS. Those mediums should fairly easily go to the end, you'd think.
The hearts could be a bit easier on managing them. You can push a lot more on the hearts, and especially towards the end of the race. They could be an option, but it is going to be very tough for the next 10 laps or so for BenGS to keep up with his peers around him. And we'll have to see if he can get something out of it. But if he's confident in that, so Larkin is looking to initiate the pit stops of the first three drivers at the moment. The screen is following him, leaving Kriko out for one more lap possibly. And I think we'll be seeing mediums for the majority of these.
Yeah, so into the pit lane, Larkin, that Scream have decided to dive, and then Peter, just about a lap down, emerges and gets out the way nicely of the drivers around him. Larkin now is going to come out, and look at where he's come out. You mentioned Jaco, and Carmentalist has not done himself any favours by spinning. Larkin now is looking to get bottled up here potentially, and this could be an opportunity for Mr. BT and Sully if they plan to stay out or do they want to react. We'll see there, but Larkin is not going to be done any favours, especially because Carmentalist in front is getting the DRS off of Jaco. He's low on batteries, Carmentalist, so that could be a bit of a saving grace for Larkin, but the Alfa Romeo looking for that undercut, and he's got his work cut out getting through on Carmentalist and Jaco. You'd imagine neither of them will fight him too hard, but Larkin is going to have to get it done on track if he doesn't want to lose too much time.
He definitely will have to do that. Meanwhile, Timon has jumped a Scream as well, who was the 4th place, so his undercut is looking to be paid off for the Alfa Romeo. Have to see, Mr. BT is now in. Sully has decided to stay out for one more lap. Let's see if Mr. BT is going to get held up by these guys as well. Be interesting to see Larkin gearing up for a move on Carmentalist here. He's got 90% in the tank. ERS will be deployed. DRS is open. Carmentalist is just about to hold on, but I think in the break is in turn 1. Larkin will get this one done. Down the inside he goes. It was quite deep, and I think he's got this one stuck. Yes, he does, and he's jumped Mr. BT, who's come out behind Carmentalist.
So the undercut still works, and now Mr. BT has one more car to get through, and you'd expect the same thing to happen to Sully. So it looks like it's paid off for Larkin somewhat. Mr. BT, of course, has a full battery. Carmentalist has gone round through the kicks, and he's given damage to Mr. BT. Oh my word! I don't know how Carmentalist has gone round there. Yellows in the first 2 sectors. He tries to recover the car. Mr. BT, nothing he can do about that. The Aston Martin just runs into them. Those yellows looks like they will be cleared eventually. So Carmentalist on what looks to be his worst night of the season. Mr. BT, he did get undercut, but you have to say, through no fault of his own, he couldn't have anticipated that. He now has to back it up, let the rest through. Timon looks like he's on for a net podium now at this stage then, so great strategy work from him. Now Mr. BT's holding up Kriko, going to frustrate the AlphaTauri into the last few corners. Mr. BT, so unfortunate then. The pole setter, again, through unforeseen circumstances, hasn't worked out for him. Larkin now on the outside of Jacob will slot his way through. Sully is going to be behind, so Larkin now, you have to say, through all the chaos, he's re-established himself and now is a clear frontrunner in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and both in relatively clean air, obviously. Sully will have to catch J. Cole still, but in relatively clean air, we'll have to see who of these two has got the better pace, and can Sully close back up to Larkin.
Yeah, it's going to come down to all that race pace then. Timon runs P7, net P3. Jaco, former teammate of Larkin, I don't think he's going to be playing the team game anymore, but Sully coming up to him. Jaco was going to play a key role in this race. We'll see if he can fight him overly hard, but he is fairly low on battery, not overly low. He still does have a bit of DRS of the Alfa Romeo. We expect that to fade fairly soon though, as we head up towards the end of the lap towards turn 13. So Jaco still sat within that DRS of Larkin. Looks like he is actually going to get it, so he will be able to defend. And Sully maybe held back for one more lap, and I'm wondering, because Larkin I feel like could have easily dropped him. He does set fastest lap, but maybe he was trying to keep Jaco in his DRS. Sully now is going to have to wait at least a lap before he can get through. I don't imagine those tires are too bad, and that Scream has gone past Timon, so that Scream, a nice little move into Tarzan corner, picks up P7 on track, net podium at the moment, so that Scream gets through on Timon. Timon happy enough to sit behind. Sully now getting held up by Jaco. Jaco, of course, you won't really be able to overtake to this middle part of the lap, and this now is Larkin's opportunity to establish that gap.
Yeah, he is about 1.5 ahead of Sully as of right now, and obviously this will just help him extend that gap. I don't think Sully will be able to get through until turn 1 at the very least, unless he get a good exit out of here, which is very difficult to do, and I don't think that's going to happen, so I have to wait a bit longer.
Yeah, you think he will get a bit of a boost from DRS down the straight. You'd imagine the pass on Jaco shouldn't be overly difficult with how the proximity is able to keep to the rear wing of that Mercedes, so he just needs to get a decent enough run out at turn 13, which he does, and I don't think Jaco was going to have much in the way of resistance to this manoeuvre. Bumpier's gone past Gary. How has he at the front of the field? They're side by side through turn number 1 now. It re-emerging side by side at turn 2. Gary trying to hold it all the way right outside. Now to turn 3. They're locked together. Inside is the Red Bull. Outside is the Ferrari. But the Ferrari cannot quite go all the way around turn 3. Gary maintains P1 on the road, but they are holding themselves back. So Sully did get through on Jaco 1.4 to Larkin. He has got fresher tyres, so Sully can definitely get himself back in. That scream from Timon from then Nathan JB, who's had to get past Ben JS on track, now trying to work his way up to the group in front. So Sully managing to do a good job through that pit stop phase despite staying out longer, and now with the fresher tyres he can close up to Larkin. Sully's pace looks very strong. Is he going to get DRS here? I don't think he will, but he is closing in nicely. He's got more battery, so I think Sully can definitely work his way back and turn it into a bit of a duel between the front two. Larkin in that net lead, Sully up behind him though, but that gap has come down, and Sully's pace on these mediums looks very, very impressive.
Yeah, his pace is incredible at the moment. As I said, he has been able to close up. Timon is looking for a move down onto the screen. Into turn 1, I reckon. He is about 3 tenths behind Aristopoulos. Sully sets a false lap of race. That's a really quick lap, 1:11.9. And here goes Timon. He is looking for it. No, he's just about sticking behind as Peter has retired from the session, being a lap down. Is that enough for today? I have to see. But yeah, Timon didn't make a move. He's happy to just sit in behind for now. Maybe saving up some ERS and try and push on later. And maybe try and drop the scream later on.
Yeah, at the moment though, sitting patiently. Creco behind him in P9. Nathan JB used all of his battery really to get past Ben GS, and he's hung out to dry at the moment then. Mr. BT on the recovery drive. Gets through on Ariel Funky checking then. The Aston Martin through on the Mercedes as Peter backs out completely now. His car is pretty much sat there heading at the edge of the pit lane, so hopefully no one does go into the pits. That car should clear itself out fairly soon. As it does, we've got Matt Tebos has gone out. He's had another incident out of that banking. Watch for the safety car. There it is. So the safety car comes out. Now you'd think this may benefit these medium runners, but what tire do you go for? It is in that awkward stage of the race. You can see the stricken car. Gary is going to go in. Bumpier and Zaunima will follow him. So those guys are going to go in, but you'd think you'd got to go for softs, but surely the softs won't make it from here. Gary does put softs on.
Ooh.
Could a miracle be in order? Do you think it's possible?
It's possible, but they won't be very good at the end of the race. Ben Jess has gone in as well, getting off those hard tyres. Obviously, under safety car conditions, they'll be very difficult to manage. And I reckon everyone in behind will go for softs as well. We'll have to see if those softs can make it. Actually, Ben Jess goes for mediums here. They'll definitely make it, so he has definitely got a fair advantage compared to the top runners. I'll have to see if he can make up the positions.
Yeah, of course, he was the only man that started on the softs that has decided to actually come in there. So he had a bit more freedom on strategy. He now runs P11 on very good tyres, it must be said then, to go the distance. But that early grip of the softs is going to be really intriguing to see how that shapes up. Gary, Bumpy, Zaunima, Jaco, watch for that quartet trying to move their way through. Of course, overtaking, as we've stated several times, is incredibly difficult here. The field is quite spread out among the back positions, so it may take a bit of time for everything to re-establish. So you can see how things have unfolded then, the different tyre lives amongst really that top six. You can see the way the different strategies have sorted themselves out. Sully looks to be potentially the quickest of that train at the moment with the fresher tyres as well, so he's looking very strong. Timon is on the oldest tyres, and with soft runners not far behind, he could be under threat, but really, these soft tyres, as Verstappen has said, could make the end of the race, but you'd imagine, because of the wear that they're going to be experiencing, the moves, if they're going to happen, they're going to have to happen in these first few laps after the safety car.
Yeah. Just thinking as well, we could see some drives as, yeah, Bumpy does that. He goes back into the pits and he'll be strapping on a set of mediums, I reckon. The Excel guys look to be risking it on the softs, and that'll be very interesting, maybe banking on the safety car as well. I reckon you'll need to have your tire pressures quite high running for them to make it towards the end, obviously helping the tire wear with that. So I have to see if these guys do that. be very difficult. If one person can do it in this grip, it is Zuidema though, so I'll have to see.
Yeah, Zuidema has that silky touch on the tyres. He can certainly take them a longer distance than most of the other drivers. Bumpier has elected to go for probably the safe strategy, you'd say, getting on a fresh set of mediums, which is still going to be very strong even with the track position he has given up. Maybe Jaco could have done it because he wouldn't have lost as much track position, only P9 at the moment, but he's opting for those softs. He thinks it could still be the tyre to be on. So those three now are going to be ones to watch out for. It may take a little bit longer. Slash is a long way off the back, so I don't think we'll get racing on this lap, maybe next. Although you can make up ground on the safety car fairly quickly here, being a short lap. We will see. Larkin leads Sully. And Larkin, I think he could do what he wants on this restart, but to me, Sully, in the Ferrari with fresher tyres, he's caught Larkin once before. Larkin could try and put him off as much on this restart as he can, but Sully, to me, on pace, looks to have the measure of him. The question is, though, can he get through this without making a mistake? It's going to come down to a duel between the two of them. That screaming behind will try and threaten now. That gap has been closed up. But Sully, you'd have to say, is that danger man, because in this second stint, he has looked imperious compared to the rest of them.
He definitely has. Yeah, as you said, it'll be interesting to see if the rest of the older medium runners, can make it and can stick to the train heads, to the top two, as that didn't happen on the first couple laps of the race. So giving him a new chance here, maybe with some mistakes, they can benefit of that and just maybe make up some positions that way.
Yes, certainly. So we'll see how they're able to approach that. Slash has gone into the pit lane again because he fitted a set of older tyres, so I don't exactly blame him for coming in to try and get something fresh on it. It is going to be soft, so he must feel confident that he is going to make it. So keep half an eye on TDG Slash, trying to get himself back into contention. So we're going to get to the second half of the race. Slash should make it back there. You'd think maybe it'll be a late call with the safety car. We will see. Larkin leads LOI Sully in second, who we saw fight for the win last time out in Spa. So we're seeing him back really on form at the circuit here at Zandvoort, and he is sat on the rear wing of XL Larkin, raring to go racing once again. So it should be in just a few seconds time you'll get the call that safety car is coming in this lap. A very short final sector, so not a lot of playtime really for Larkin to be able to judge this. There we go, safety cars in this lap. How does he approach this? Because there's not a lot of places you can go, but certainly, depending on how you approach it with that banking, there is a chance of catching those drivers behind out.
Yeah, definitely. When you go at slow speed, and maybe some of the drivers not having their tyres warmed up, if you go in the middle of the banking, you could definitely catch some people out, I reckon. And we'll have to see if Larkin does that, or he just takes it quite easy, the traction zone of 13, but he's going, I think, a bit too quick for that, so I have to see if he does do that. I think he'll stick it out for a bit longer, just weaving around the banking. The safety car's now in the pit, so he's free to go. Still holding a consistent pace. And I think now he's gone. Yes, and he has caught Sully out quite a bit. The Scream is now looking on the back of the Ferrari. Is he going to be able to make a move down the inside of turn 1? Not quite sticking that, and Sully just about maintains ahead. Hardy and BT looking to fight just a bit, and Ben JS as well. It's a bit of carnage almost in the back of the grid, as Slash made up a couple positions. He's in P13, 14, fighting with Mr. BT. Mr. BT's into the wall, and he is out of the session, and Slash, I think, must have damage from that as well. No safety car being called out now. That's unfortunate to see for Mr. BT, as the pole sitter is out of the race.
Yeah, just coming into contact with Slash there, the cars caught on each other and spearing into the wall. So they will look to try and re-emerge, but certainly not the restart those guys were looking for. That is for sure. Larkin leads Sully, leads last. That Scream. Not much movement up at the front of the race, but Gary certainly looking on Nathan JB, who's had to be on the defensive pretty much all the way through the race. Gary looking inside into turn 12. Not going to find an opportunity there. The door firmly shut, and fairly so, from CRL. Nathan JB, P6 at the moment, but Gary looks threatening at the moment, but I think as the DRS is not quite in play, don't think we'll see much in the way of moves as it stands.
Slash.
So Larkin leads Sully, Slash up behind Funky Chicken trying to recover. So it looks like he's managed to recover just fine from the incident. Goes down the inside and through on Funky Chicken. So trying to work his way back up. P14 now for the Williams man. Now up behind Carmentalist and P13. So Slash trying to work his way back, and he's had good pace tonight. So many setbacks though, and now he's got a bit of work to do to get in the points. He's up behind Carmentalist, tries to roll alongside off the road. He opens up the battery. Mia emerges, manages to save it, but Slash, that was a bold one, and in the end it didn't quite pay off. So Slash can't get through there. And what we're seeing from Slash tonight, so much potential throughout the evening, but a list of setbacks, and that one's just the latest one. He manages to maintain 14th though.
Yeah, very bold move to try it up there. It is possible. It's that's a bit of a wobble. I'm looking on board as well. Yeah, it is possible to do it there, but it's not a very customary place to go for it. And just at the front, we're looking at an 8/10 gap between Sully and the Scream as well. These top two seem to have the edge over the rest of the field at the moment. And is Gary going to be able to make a move? He's draining his ERS here. DRS is enabled, but not this time out just yet. And I don't think Gary's close enough to make a move just about. He is looking for it. He is going for it. That is very late. He is mounting the curb there. He's not going to be able to get through just yet and has to stick in behind McLaren.
Yeah, Slash getting thrown Carmentalist further down the field. Yeah, Nathan JB holding on then, and Gary, I think he saw himself using all the battery and just thought, I've got to get through, I can't let this slip. He does go for the move, was very, very tight, and lucky neither driver going around Nathan JB, as he's been on the defensive, as I said, all night long. He has managed to just about resist XL Gary on that occasion, so a bit of a setback for the Red Bull. His teammate sat in behind him then. Larkin leads Sully, and that Scream has just about managed to stay in DRS range. So, of course, we saw he had the opportunity to stay with them, and in the end, he's just about managed it. Can he keep that going, though? As it's very close to the second detection point at turn 13. Looks like he'll just about hang on to it, though. So he has managed to stay in DRS range. He runs third, Timon behind him fourth, and no one all that close, really. So Gary's had to sit back after Nathan JB resisted his intentions. Slash behind us trying to get to Boompy. Boompy up to Ben JS. Those manoeuvres don't quite come off as it is such a short straight. Can't really set your time to get those moves done. Jekyll is sat quite close to Zaudema, but of course not going to get through in this section of the track. Zaudema and Jekyll, two of the most experienced customers out there, maintain P8 and
Slash.
P9. Slash further back. He's trying it again. He's going to blast through it at turn 3 and straight past Boompie. Slash has such pace. If he can make these moves cleanly, he can certainly grab some good points. He gets through on Boompie. Boompie, not much you can do about that. So the soft's still a very good tyre, and Slash has got the best tyres in the field, really, at this stage. So he closes up to Ben GS, trying to find a way through. So TDG Slash, if he can get these moves off cleanly, he looks very quick at this stage, and with just 2 cars between him and the soft train, it's not out the possibility that he may be able to join them sometime soon.
Definitely don't think so. He got a lot of traction out of turn 3 and just got the car underneath there and got alongside Bumpy and got the move done. Meanwhile, the Scream has lost touch to the top 2, and I think Sully might be going for a move for the lead here. Very easy DRS pass, no trouble there for the Ferrari, and he's up into P1. Timon is looking for a move in behind. He is up into P3 just now. The Scream just slotting in behind and following him into the DRS.
Timon up onto the podium places then, so he runs third, and he's got a better battery to use. He'll want desperately to get up towards the top 2, but with older tyres, it's going to be quite some mission to try and pull that off. Everyone sat quite nicely in behind. Nathan JB looks possibly to be detached though, up behind Kriko. The AlphaTauri still together out on the track now. Timon moves up into the podium places. One Alfa Romeo moves down, the other one moves up at this midpoint in the race, heading up towards the later point. But I said those soft runners are going to have to get the moves done early, and it hasn't quite worked out. Gary had one go at Nathan JB, but now he's completely burned his battery. Zaudema has got pretty much a full battery in behind, so Gary's thrown everything at Nathan JB, but in the end the move just hasn't come off. And with Zaudema and Jekyll seemingly stuck there, that soft trio now has really stalled out, and overtakes from here look very unlikely.
Yeah, I think Gary may have just been a bit too impatient with the ERS and completely drained everything at Nathan JB, not got past, and he's stuck now. Slash is looking for a move down the inside of turn 1. VenGS very deep there and looks to get past VenGS on the switchback. No, he won't. So Slash gets up at P11. Only one car in between him and the soft trio then.
Yeah, so he's managed to get himself working his way through. Hardy up in front has a decent amount of battery, but so did VenGS. So Slash has clearly just got the ultimate pace at the moment on those guys and is able to create those overtaking opportunities. Hardy up behind Jaco, and Gary now is starting to slip back. So already it looks like those soft tyres are pretty much past their best in the hands of Gary. And right now, he just can't quite create that pace. Zounama looks infinitely quicker, and there are going to be some team orders there. So Zounama does get through, and Gary now is holding back Jaco. So Gary's pace has completely deserted him. Zounama is going to have to make that effort. He's got a lot of battery to use to try and get himself back in. But Gary, really, just couldn't create anything, and now he looks to potentially slip back, so it's not looking good for Gary so far. Timon nearly got to DRS range. Now that gap has been re-established. 1.6 seconds up at the front of the order. Hardy is fairly close to Jaco, won't be able to create the manoeuvre. Zounama didn't have DRS there down the straight. Now he's going to have to work. It's a big lap for Zounama, and really everyone below him. Zounama's got a lot on his hands. He's got to try and close in. Gary's let him through. The team orders have come through now. Zounama now going to try and work. He's got the battery, but does he have the pace to claw back and really salvage this soft train? But those soft tyres are not going to be getting any easier to drive.
That's very true. Obviously, the medium tyres for the guys up ahead won't be getting easier to drive either. Slash is still looking at Hardy for a move. Gary's pace is completely gone. He's almost lost DRS here. It's his tyres overheating. The softs do that quite easily around here. I think that might be the case, and yeah, he's very much struggling with that at the moment.
Yeah, he's nearly out of DRS of Zounama. Zounama has managed to claw his way back in to the train in front. It's still led by Timon, who I think would definitely take a podium given the circumstances, and it would be a good chunk taken out of Carmensla's championship lead, who's had a miserable night there, runs in 14th at the moment. Jaco, I imagine, will be fairly desperate to get through on Gary, but Gary is going to look to protect his teammate up in front. And right now, Jaco cannot draw near enough. Gary is derating. You mentioned his tyres might be overheating, and he is struggling to no end, just trying to stick with his teammate in front and the wider train up in front. It is Timon from That Scream. That Scream looks fairly comfortable then with a lot of battery in P4. 2 seconds is the gap from the leaders to the group behind, and Sully and Larkin are actually both very low on battery, so they're pushing to their limits here, trying to extend out. Sully has put everything in to try and break Larkin. Larkin is having to really work to stay with him, and they've both drained the battery, and what this does, it does benefit Sully, because Larkin has less overtaking potential than he otherwise would have done.
Definitely so, but on the other hand, Sully has less to defend with, so it just kind of evens out in that way. And Larkin, still with the DRS, has the opportunity to save a little bit more ERS just here and there, and that might benefit him quite a bit. They're exactly equal on ERS percentage at the moment. I'll have to see how that goes on later on. And meanwhile, the Scream is just looking and sitting behind Timon at the moment. Jaco's going for a move on Gary. Down into turn 1. Is he going to make that one stick? Bit of contact, wheel to wheel. I think Jaco got through cleanly and is up into P8.
Yeah, so again, another position lost for Gary. Jaco up to 8th. Trying to get up, put pressure on Zounama. Both those guys, well, Zounama still has plenty of battery. Nathan JB has done well, I'd say, to stay with P6 because he hasn't looked the quickest tonight, but he is still maintaining that 6th on the road at the moment. Jaco in 8th, Gary 9th. Hardy looks fairly quick on these tyres, it must be said, but can't quite create the opportunities, and Slash's charge has seemingly just died off a little bit. Hardy was on the curb out of turn 9, which is very nervy. He does hold it together though, and now Gary is going to be under threat, you'd imagine, from the medium runner. So you're already seeing that crossover point. Hardy's fresher tyres starting to come into play. But it looks like the strategy to stay out has certainly paid off because of how difficult overtaking has proven to be, as we've come to expect from Zandvoort. So nothing really going on at the moment. The AlphaTauris are very comfortable in that train behind Timon, so maybe they'll go on the attack later on. Hardy up behind Gary. Can he create an opportunity? Gary defending the inside towards turn 1. Hardy can't find a move. And really that's the thing. If you can't get alongside, all the car in front has to do is really sit in the middle of the road. You either make a very risky dive down the inside. The outside can work there, but not from that distance, I don't think. So Hardy can't quite get the move done. He slides out of turn 3, holds on to it. Gary's pace has dropped off. Everyone else has just sat behind frustrated. It's been a very frustrating night for much of the grid, it must be said. But looking further up the road then, as that Scream hones in on Timon. Timon's tyres then, of course, they are the oldest on the grid, and they do seem to be dropping out off the fastest then, because that Scream is all over him. The gap to the leaders is rapidly extending. Timon trying to do all he can, but you'd imagine with those tyres then, that disadvantage is just going to grow and grow, and that Scream looks very comfortable sat in behind. You imagine he's just going to bide his time looking for a way back through.
Yeah, and I think if he can, he'll try and get his teammate to move along with him and get a 3-4 possibly. Have to see if they can pull it off. It's quite difficult to do. If they can manage to get Timon to run out of ERS possibly, and that is an opportunity. Looking further down the grid, no one really going for a move. Hardy now also basically out of ERS, so he is not able to get past Gary at the moment.
Yeah, Hardy threw everything at Gary. Gary has been derating for about 5 or 6 laps now at least. But ultimately, Hardy doesn't have much to get through. And Slash, who still has some pretty good tyres underneath him, is trying to get around Hardy up towards turn 7. So Slash trying to set this up. He's going to the outside here. This is bolt from TDG Slash. Gets squeezed onto the grass and off the road is TDG Slash. So Slash, through the gravel, re-emerges, tries to bring it back on. He didn't get much space. Now he's round again. He goes into the wall. No major damage, maybe slight. There doesn't look to be a safety car being brought out there as Slash recovers. So Slash just going through there. Of course, you always run a risk. Hardy didn't give him much space, but you could argue Slash wasn't really in his right to go for that. Of course, it's a racetrack, you can go for it anywhere, but very risky stuff there from Slash, and in the end, he's paid the price for it.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit too risky there, as Hardy's looking for a move on Gary. I think Gary just made a little slight mistake there. And looking up ahead, I think the Scream is getting one done on Timon as we just switch to that. I think Timon's just about staying ahead there. Yes, he is. Moving back. Hardy, has he got the move done? And Gary is still side by side down towards turn 2. I think Hardy has that one just about covered and is up at the P9.
Yeah, good move there from Hardy. Good defense for Timon. That was the first real sign of intent though from that Scream. Timon still has a decent amount of battery, so he can defend this for the time being. And at the moment, that Scream is going to have to look to try and get quite close to Timon. The top 2 are well on their way as Slash is elected to retire from the race in the end. So he is out of the running in this Grand Prix. So the top 2 still running as one. Interestingly, Sully has burned a bit more battery. Larkin still isn't exactly looking great on battery, but he is looking better than the man in front. So Sully could be at threat, but really, his pace is so great, Larkin can't really sit on his rear wing. Sully, well, he is lower battery. His relentless pace is giving Larkin serious headaches trying to close up to him.
Yeah, Sully's pace looks unmatchable for Larkin at the moment, as the Scream is looking once again for a move down into turn 1 on Timon. Still side by side. Timon goes deep once again and defends that quite well and holds on to P3.
Timon again, a bit of a signal of intent there from Timon then. He is not giving this up without a serious fight. That Scream is going to have to look elsewhere to try and get that move done then. Maybe he can try and get clear before the entry then, but that Timon is holding on to this. That Scream not holding back. Kriko has got the most battery out of all of them, sat behind there in P number 5, but ultimately bottlenecked in a DRS train behind his teammate. But he looks like he may have the most pace out of everyone. Timon has managed to re-establish somewhat. He's just about 6/10 clear. That Scream having to use a bit more battery then to get himself as close as he wants. So it looks like he now is very eager to try and get through on QRT Timon. 22 laps, actually more than that. I think it's 23, given the tends to be a bit glitchy with the lap counter on the out laps when you put some fresh tyres on in the race. That Tymon looks to have enough in hand though this time, and that Scream's ERS advantage isn't quite what it was. Zaruba behind, can he finally get through? He's looking inside at Nathan JB. Nathan JB though will fend off. Zaruba not opting for the lunge, as we've seen some other drivers do tonight. He remains 7th for the moment. Nathan JB holds on to 6th. 4 tenths is the gap between Tymon and that Scream. 5 tenths is the gap between Sully and Larkin. Nearly 5 seconds up the road. Those two have been the clear class of the field along with Mr. BT, but we saw how that ended. So he is out the race. Sully and Larkin though still very much in the fight, and they're going at it now. Larkin now with the ERS disadvantage. He's got those older tyres, and I think that's what's making the difference here. Sully can just keep the pressure up. Larkin, as the end draws nearer, he's going to have to work harder and harder to stay with it. And of course we saw, just like in Bahrain for Larkin, you know, simply put, he's having to work really hard to just stay with it, and just that little pace disadvantage could work against him. We will see. That Scream though, no such pace disadvantage. He is sat right on the rear wing of QRT Tymon. You'd expect the move to come fairly easily there. That Scream has signalled he wants this move done, and now he's sat on his rear wing. Tymon moves over slightly, but it's no contest. Through goes that Scream to P number 3 on the road. We'll try and get that gap back out. Tymon will of course try and stay with him. BenJS is attacking Gary outside of turn number 1. Can he get the traction on the way out to stay alongside? No, Gary covers it off and maintains P10 at the moment, but under heavy pressure. BenJS nearly into the rear wing of the Red Bull. Heading out of turn number 3, he sits 11th there. Boomke sat behind in 12th. Carmentalist barely outside the points, trying to make something of what has been a nightmare evening for him. Hardy still with Jaco. He's got seemingly just about the most pace in the field. Can't quite use it though. Sat in this train that continues to converge. That Scream though does get through on Tymon. Tymon is going round as that Scream. That Scream makes a mistake, so that Scream just manages to gather it back up, but he has had a bit of a half spin, and Nathan JB now up behind him. So that Scream from the podium places making a major error. Now Krico is behind Tymon with nearly a full battery to use against the Alfa Romeo, who sits at the moment in that third position. 6 tenths is the gap for the leaders then. Can Larkin create something then? Now Krico is on the battery to try and close up to QRT Tymon, who moves over to the inside line. Krico's going to go outside then towards Tarzan corner. Gets his nose in front. He's going to sweep round the outside if he can, and Tymon cannot hold it. Round goes Krico to P number 3 on the road, and now he'll try and re-establish then, use all the battery he can to get a bit of a gap out towards the 4th place now Alfa Romeo, who tries to track him, trying to cut down that championship advantage that Carmentalist has, down in 13th at the moment then. Hardy is with Jaco. Can't quite create the opportunity, neither Zed, but on Nathan JB. The overtakes are being set up, but so difficult to pull off. Krico now injecting some pace and trying to establish that gap. We've got just over 2 laps to go. Krico onto the curb again out at turn 9, holds on to it. 6 tenths the gap. Tymon trying to stay with him. He's doing all he can, but he's going to have to burn some battery, which is exactly what he doesn't want to do. He wants to try and stay with it. Krico holding on to P3, looking to wrap up a podium late in the day after trailing his teammate for so long. He runs third, Tymon 4th. That Screaming fed. The leaders are still together on track, but Sully is just on it, and with just 2 laps to go, I think Larkin is banking now on a mistake from the race leader. Then Sully is going to have to crack for Larkin to have a chance.
Definitely will in the meantime. BenJS got past Gary and he's up at the P10, is looking to pressure Hardy. So he made a mistake earlier on in the lap. Have to see if BenJS can maybe make a late move there, as Hardy has basically out of ERS as well. And Gary just slipping further back. He's almost out of DRS of BenJS now as well, and just not the day for him at the moment. Looking towards the front again. These AlphaTauris can maybe try and work together in some sort of way. I've seen them do that in the past. We'll have to see if they can do that now. The Scream is looking maybe for a move down onto Tymon as well if he can. But Tymon obviously has a DRS to defend with as well. 1.5 lap to go.
Tymon is going to try and get as close as he can to Krico, of course, this section of the track. At this distance, he probably wouldn't make it, but he's using all the battery he can. Krico has slightly more, though, to use. It's all or nothing here for Larkin, but he's 7 tenths back. Then Sully has put up with pressure all the way through. It's been a great duel between these two. It's such a high level of driving, but Sully looks like he may well just resist Larkin for 1 lap more. They come over the line now, and it's no contest, and Larkin is some 6 tenths back heading in to the braking zone of Tarzan corner. Timon doing everything he can. He's drained his battery, but he's just too far back from Kriko. And Kriko can just try and get through the last lap without any major mistakes. Boompier, late in the day, gets through on Gary for P11. And Carmentelis will try and follow through. Gary will try and hold on to points after what has been a near depressing final stint for the Red Bull. His teammate has tried everything at Nathan JB as well, but Nathan JB has resisted as he's done all night long. Timon doing all he can to get up to Kriko, but can he create that opportunity? Kriko is aggressive over the curbs, heading through the middle sector, but he looks to wrap up that P3, and Sully now in complete control, in complete command. Of course, we saw Mr. BT losing out, unfortunately, in the midpoint of this race, but Sully has just completely picked up the pieces and has stormed through. His pace on these mediums has been remarkable. Larkin has done all he can, but LOI Sully, after fighting for the win last time out in Spa, he comes up to the line and he will win here in the Netherlands. He holds off Larkin to the line. Kriko will resist Timon to the line as well for P3. So Sully, Larkin, Kriko, that is your podium. Gary is going out, heading through the end of the race. He just got overtaken by Carmentelis that dumps it in the wall to cap off what was a nightmare final stint. Sully, you have to say, that was a classic performance. Of course, we've seen him come up as a reserve. We saw him fight for that victory last time out in Spa, and now, here in the Netherlands, he is a race winner after a duel with Larkin, which maybe didn't see all that much wheel-to-wheel racing. But you have to say, in terms of the level between those two, they were just phenomenal tonight.
Yeah, they were, together with Mr. BT, who unfortunately retired. They were just so far clear of the rest of the crit today. And they take up the 1-2 as of today. And yeah, very good drive. I saw they just had the slight edge there. Over Larkin. Takes the fastest laps as well, so that just shows how quick he was. Kriko taking home the podium. Timon at 4th will do good for his championship. The Scream at 5th, and Nathan JB, Sedema, J. Cole, they made the softs sort of work, but didn't get any more positions off of it. Then Hardy, Benji S, Bompia, and Carmentelis ran up with 1 point at the end, and he'll be looking to bounce back later on. Funky Chicken, the only one to finish without any points, and Gary DNFing on the final lap. Then Slash, Mr. BT, Matt Tibbles, and Peter all DNFing as well.
Yeah, of course. Turned out to be a bit of a race of attrition, which I think for a Division 2 race at Zandvoort, I don't think you could have expected anything less. So hopefully we can get all those guys in for the podium interviews. Sully, Larkin and Kriko. Well, we'll see what they have to say after that Grand Prix. Probably wasn't the most exciting for those guys. Wasn't the greatest race ever. I think you'd expect that from Zandvoort. Really not many opportunities for overtaking. So it is very difficult around here. But I think overall, somehow, we've actually had probably one of the more civilised races of the season. Which I guess isn't saying much, but it is a statement nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with you. The driving standards were quite good tonight, I have to say. And I have to give credit to the drivers who do this as well. And yeah, just trying to get these guys in for some interviews, hopefully.
Okay, yeah, so we'll see if we can get those guys in and get their thoughts after the race. Of course, I think Zandvoort is always a very intense one. For the drivers, as we've mentioned several times, the concentration levels have to be oh so high around this circuit, and we're going to get the thoughts from the drivers as they start to join in now. I guess we will start with our race winner, LOI Sully. Of course, we saw you last time out in Spa here fighting for the win, and this time you're involved in another fight for the win, and this time it goes in your favour. Your pace was phenomenal on those mediums. Just run us through the emotions right now. I think I speak for Larkin though that he was definitely stretched to his limit to try and stay in that DRS range. Yeah, just run us through. Guess give us a synopsis of that, because you look to be shadowing the leader somewhat in that early stage of the race. Just, when did you realise that the doors had opened and the race win could very well be in your hands?
Well, actually, in the first stint, I thought I was in trouble because I was staying behind the boys short shifting because I actually didn't have enough fuel in the car. I put 2 laps in, and come lap, I think it was lap at 10 or 11, I only had 0.8 left, and so I thought it was actually gonna. I didn't think I'd make it to the end. I got blessed with the safety car then, so that kind of opened the door to attack, and then didn't really look back from there. Just tried to keep the head. So that was about it.
Yeah, certainly. So another call up, another podium, and a win, certainly for yourself. Then 6 races left. We'll see what you can do. I guess I'll just hand it over to Mr. QVR Verstappen. Verstappen, you got any questions for our race winner today?
Oh, first of all, congratulations. Good to see you up here once again. We're looking to see you more onto the podium once again. I guess maybe some tracks will be good for you. 6 rounds to go, as Dan said.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know what will be left on the calendar. I know you said Brazil last week, so maybe if got a chance to jump in Brazil, I wouldn't mind that. But as I said, I don't know the calendar, but just Brazil will be one of my stronger tracks. So,
well,
yeah.
We'll see if you get the call up for that, and I expect great things from you once again. Thank you very much. Mr. LOI Sully, race winner tonight, and I guess we'll now head to our second place finisher this evening. It is XL Larkin. Hit your 3rd podium of the season, mate. Good to see you back here again. Just run us through it then, because I think you were in the fight the whole time. Just how tense was it all the way through, knowing how easily you can make mistakes around here?
Yeah, it was super sweaty. I mean, the first little stint of it was fairly relaxed when it was me, Sully, and Mr. BT, because we built up a massive gap fairly early, and I knew that the 3 of us could then just sort of use each other and cruise. Then the safety car came out, obviously, and that wasn't ideal. Mr. BT did whatever happened to him and went off, so it was just me and Sully. I knew he was really quick, so I didn't want to try and defend against him, so figured I'd just let him go and try and stick with him. But then he was so fast, like trying to keep with him every lap was so difficult. I was burning ERS like mad just to stay within DRS. There was no chance I was ever going to get back past him. I was just clinging on and trying to secure that P2.
Yeah, well, you just about managed to pull that out in the end. 2nd place finish, as I said earlier, was your 3rd podium of the season. Of course, we've seen you win plenty of races in Division 2 in the past. You've come close on a few occasions now in Bahrain and now here. 6 rounds to go. Do you think that race win could come to you?
It depends who's racing, to be honest. I think this was probably one of my biggest chances. It's a decent track for me, and I did some practice for once this week, so the pace was all good. China will be an opportunity, Brazil will be an opportunity, but if Sully says that he wants to race those and he turns up, I'm sure he'll be probably gunning for the top step of the podium as well. I'll try and do it. I want to win a championship. Hopefully that race proved to some people how I managed to win a championship before, but I'll just do the best I can and see what it brings me.
You gave us plenty of entertainment on that championship run, there's no doubt about that. Coming to you, Verstappen, again, it's hard to find questions because you guys were just, on your own pretty much the entire race. But Verstappen, you got any questions for our 2nd place finisher tonight?
Congratulations on the 2nd place. Just going back on the championship, do you think you still have a chance at it? Maybe with the inconsistency of some drivers, and maybe the space you do have and you do show at certain tracks, do you think you still have a chance?
Oh, I mean, it depends what the safety car's got to say about it, I think. I mean, looking at the tracks that are left, there's a real mix. I look at China, I look at Brazil, your pad ABS tracks, and they'll be pretty strong for me. But then there's also Hungary, Canada, which aren't going to be particularly strong for me. So, I mean, it's unlikely, but I'm not someone who's going to be there in Discord every week going, oh, my chance at the championship's over now. I'm going to keep going and just see what happens.
I think you've called out about 3/4 of the division there.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, thanks very much, lads. I don't think we can get Creeko in here, unfortunately. So that will be just about it for the night. So, 11th rounds now down. Just 6 more to go. So thank you all very much for tuning in once again to League of Europe Division 2. Always a blast. I guess I'll come to you, Verstappen. You got any final thoughts for the night?
It was quite an entertaining race. Obviously, in the midfield there was quite a lot of strategy battles going on. And yeah, I have to say, overall, apart from maybe lap 1 where we saw a few incidents, the driving was very, very good. And I have to congratulate and applaud the drivers for that as well.
Yes, certainly. So, that's going to be just about it for tonight. Thank you all very much for tuning in once again. Make sure to tune in next week, the last week before the break. We will see. It is the Russian Grand Prix, so we'll see how that one is going to unfold once again. So, from myself and Verstappen, it is goodbye for now, and until next time, we'll see you later.